Okay, where was I? Right, this window thing. That's not what we cared about. Uh, so this is our current index. What were we doing? Right, we were stepping through a. We're doing like this work? No, this is not working. Right. I wanted to look at a solution. This works. So this is C++. Int n equals s dot length. So we're grabbing the length of the string. Unordered set. Int right. Okay. Yeah, so what we want to do, I think, is we just want to count the instances of be one, right? No. Yeah. I want a bigger string. There we go. There we go. Okay, so if we do this, we do sub string, right? We go to 2, 3, there. Then we do 2. Yeah, that's the same. Oh fuck, I forgot. I needed to this needs to be something else. B. There we go. There. There. Yeah. And then if we reverse this, right. Vab. That's not correct. Okay, wait. If I do this, And then I do this. And then we do this substring. True. There we go. Yeah, that's not right. Sub mid start index to +1. And this shouldn't be 0. This should be that path there. There. Then, oh wait, no. This is correct here, I believe. And it's just that one that we want to have the, yeah, because this I think ends up being correct. Yeah, there we go. So this one here is +1, and we're not going to have a 0. We're just going to do that. And then we're just going to do this, -1. And that will give us whether or not it's even or not. Do 5, 2. Oh yeah, this needs to be not. This one here is, yeah, so this one should be returning false. But if we have AA and or BB, right, then it should just work, right? But if substring, oops, is 2, wait, no, it's supposed to be 1. Oh, right, mid start index. Yeah, there we go. 1, and then we do there. Yeah. Okay. So here we do return substring substring start index is equal to substring substring start index Sweet. That works. Okay, so this now, well, now we can verify that this works. We can move on to this here. So we need to find the longest palindrome, right? Really, we just want we want to walk with a window. Let's just start over. So we have our start index, right? So we want to go from 0 to 1, right? So if I've got S, yeah, so S 0 to 1, B, yeah. So substring equals S window start index to window end index. And then if I do this, window start index minus window, or sorry, window end. I think this is backwards. Yeah, this is backwards. This will tell me how, like, where we're at here. If substring, if self dot is palindrome, substring, if substring, if the length of substring is greater than the longest palindrome, equals substring. Else window start index plus equals 1. Yeah, this needs to be while true. Window end index is less than string length. Wait, what? Oh, that's why. There we go. Debugger. Okay, so we have our information here, and now we can slowly walk through this and see if it works the way that we think it will. So substring should be B. B is technically a palindrome. So there. EA. Ah, it was working. Uh, wait, this is not right. If we're gonna do substring length. If substring length and 1 is not equal to 0, continue. So this works. There's ba. We're not equal to 0. Is equal to 0. Oh, wait. Is it me or is it not? Oh, right, because I didn't hit stop. God damn it. Okay. Do. There is palindrome. Yes. Longest. I don't think this is perfect in any stretch of any imagination anywhere in the world. Where's my problem set here? Description? Yeah, here we go. Example 3. Here we go. Wait, what? Oh, wait. This is not the problem set that I was. Yeah, this is my problem set right here. I was like, that's a weird problem set. See if this works. Yes. I am not a huge fan of my solution right now, but let's run it, see if it works here, and make sure that I don't have anything weird. Yeah, and then we'll do a submit, and we're probably going to find some errors. There we go. What? That should have worked. Like, actually should have worked. Oh, that's why. if if string length is equal to 1, return s. If is less than 2, return s. That explains it. This is all we this is all we need. Submit. I think we're gonna get another error. How did that one make by? I thought I had a test for that. I did. Oh, that's is palindrome. do, do, do. Wait, that is a palindrome. Oh, that's why. Fuck. Oh, I already had that queued up. All right, let's see where my logic was wrong. I think I know where it was wrong. This should give me back 0 and it should be true. So we should only be adjusting the, yeah, so we should only adjust this. Let's redo this. Else, so if we take the length of the substring and add it to our end, right? New substring or test substring. Temp. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop and we're gonna rerun this. And we're gonna see how this works. This is gonna fuck me during my interview. My absolute love for oops. My love for the debugger is gonna hurt me during my interview. Okay, so I think this needs to be +1, right? There we go. Yeah, so this needs to be +1. Right? Then we do if self dot is palindrome temp sub string. And then this would be window and index plus equals substring length +1. uh, Yeah, so this is looping through. Oh, I see what he's doing. He's just doing a full window over everything. That actually would work. I don't like it though. But that does make sense. And it's better than this. In range, string length, or J in range, string length. What's he doing here? I don't like that. Hmm. No, fuck it. I want to go back to mine. Let's go back to mine. Okay. Equals this, right? So it's because this one here doesn't ever end, right? Which is weird. So B. BA. I see where the problem is here. Else window end index plus equals 1. But then this creates a new edge case. There. Now we're going to increase this by 1, right? Yeah, it's going to return a bad value, isn't it? No. Did it? Yeah, it did. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to, if this, nice seeing you again. Ugh, I suppose likewise. I hate this challenge right now. And I don't, yeah, I don't like this. Like, no, you have to convince yourself you like it. Like hell. I will never like it. No, I don't know. Give it 100 more problems and you'll start liking it anyways. Oh god. We'll see where I get. For I in X range. My issue is that like every you know what the worst part is that I can see where this would help me. I can see where this is going to help me like in the long run, and I should probably get better at this stuff because like I can see situations where like understanding this stuff would be good. And I don't want to. I just don't want to. Longest palindrome. Or I in X range length. I think Neatcode's got one on this. Hmm.
Hey everyone, let's solve another classic Leetcode problem today, longest palindromic substring.
All right. I'm at the point where I need to figure this out, and I'm feeling a bit stuck.
So we're given a string, in this case, BABAD.
I just did the last weekly contest. Maybe once you feel confident in you can try. It's more fun than solving random problems for me. You can see your rank and your progression kind of. I have a feeling that this is not going to be something that I enjoyed. Wow. You can actually wow, interesting. You can actually win stuff. This is actually I'm not gonna lie, I think 11 to 16th is better than 4 to 10th. Although do, 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 do. What is this? Is this like a for sale thing as well? Like, can you actually buy it? Interesting. Where's their like where's their thing though? Oh, here's the store. The Oh, so their store isn't like a traditional store. Huh. So you can redeem 6,000 to get premium. This there is 6. That seems like a lot. If you've been doing Leetcode for a year and you still don't have the 12,000, 6,000 for a month is freaking crazy. You're getting close. What does premium really offer though? Wow. So getting so you would not be able to reasonably sustain yourself without the monthly thing if you wanted to stay on premium. That's kind of terrible. What? No way. That's kind of poopy. Oh well. Oops.
And we want to return the longest palindromic substring that exists inside of here. In this case, there's actually two, BAB as well as ABA. So we could return either of these and that would be perfectly fine. Now, what actually is a palindromic substring in the first place? Basically, it means that, you take BAB, if we wrote that in the
Best way to farm. Huh.
reverse order, which would be, BAB, it's the exact same string. So like I usually do, let's say you just don't know how to solve the problem. Well, what's the most brute force way you could do it? Well, you could say, I'm just going to check every single substring in this original string and check if it's a palindrome and get the longest one. Starting at B, so I would check this, I could check this, I could check this, and this, right? So every substring containing this.
Like, yeah, I can brute force this, but the brute force method gets really messy and I don't like it.
This original B. And I want to check for each of these, is it a palindrome or not? And I would repeat that process with every character, right? So for this A, I'd get every substring and basically keep doing that. Now, the question is, for a string, for example, BAB, what's the time complexity to even check if it's a palindrome? Well, we'd have to scan through the entire string, right? So for any given substring, to check if it's a palindrome, it's going to take linear time complexity. So let's say n, right? Now, how many substrings do we actually have to check? N squared, because we're checking every single substring containing every single character. So to check if a string is a palindrome, we have to do a linear scan, and we have to do that for every single substring. So then that's going to mean that the overall time complexity of this brute force approach is going to be big O n cubed. So the question is, how can we do better? Well, it actually involves understanding how to actually check if a substring is a palindrome or not. For again, let's look at BAB. We can check if it's a palindrome by starting at the outside and comparing these characters. And as long as they're equal, we'll keep going until we get to the middle, and then we'll check, and then we'll know, okay, it's a palindrome. But we could also do it another way. We could start at the middle and then expand outwards and check if it's a palindrome that way. So which one of these is going to help us more? Well, let's think about this. Let's say I wanted to know, for this B, what's the longest palindrome where this B is the center of the palindrome? Well, there's no character to the left of it, so it's just going to be this character, this B itself, right? So it's just one. What about this A? Well, let's start expanding. There is a character to the left, and there is a character to the right, and they happen to be equal. So the longest palindrome with this A at the center is going to be length 3, and it's going to be BAB. Notice how if we do it this way, for each character, we're going to consider it the center, and we're going to keep expanding outwards. We're going to take each character, so that's going to be n, and to expand outwards for each character, it's going to be n again. So for this way, the overall time complexity is going to be O of n squared. So that's kind of clever, right? Like a subtle difference of how we check if it's a palindrome can really improve the time complexity. But hold on, there's one edge
Yeah, that's a good
case
idea.
that we're missing. When we take one character,
I think that's kind of what I was doing here. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was doing. Going from the center and outwards both ways, or the opposite, from the ends and towards the center. Just reading the word. Yeah.
and expand outwards from it, like for this B, we're getting palindromes that are of odd lengths. They've conveniently shown us this example where the longest palindrome is actually even. So how are we going to check even palindromes?
Yeah.
Well, that's just a slight edge case that we can easily add to our solution. So we just have to remember to handle this edge case when we're implementing our code. Okay, so let's get to everybody's favorite part, the code. So I'm going to initialize the result as an empty string because, that's just a good default case. We'll get the longest length initially set to 0. Now we're going to go through every single character, or rather every single position in the string, considering it to be the center. So first, let's check odd length palindromes. So I'm going to have a left and right pointer. These left and right pointers are going to be initialized to I, which is our center position right now. While my left and right pointers are inbound, as well as while this is a palindrome, so I want to check that the left and right are equal to each other. Remember, we're starting in the middle and expanding outwards. So while this is the case, we know it's a palindrome, so we can potentially update our result. So we'll check that the length of this.
Okay, this makes sense so far. Oh, I see. So
palindrome, which we can compute by saying right minus left plus 1, is greater than our current result length, then we update the result.
wait, r minus. Oh yeah, because this is compute. So r minus l will compute how the length of the list that the length of the window, then plus one adds for yeah um well so like this is not quite correct. Like the r minus l won't give you, it will be off by one, so we add one. Yeah, okay.
And we also have to not forget to update the result length. I usually forget to do this. And let's also not forget to expand our pointers outward. So our left pointer will be shifted to the left, our right pointer will be shifted to the right. So now let's check the even length palindromes as well. Right now, you can handle this a bunch of different ways. The way I'm going to do it is setting the left pointer to I and setting the right pointer to I plus 1. So again, we're basically copy and pasting the code that we just wrote above. Maybe we can write a function to do this, but I'm too lazy to do that.
This is effectively what I was getting at, getting to my code, except for more concise. This more a bit more concise. General rule, both include plus one. Yeah.
So while it's a palindrome again, we'll check that the length is, we'll check that it's the longest palindrome that we've seen so far, basically. If it is, we update our result. And again, we can expand our pointers outward. And at the end, all we have to do is return our result. So I kind of made it look easy with the code, but don't let it fool.
Let's write this out. Let's write this out because, like, if we look at this is actually kind of what I was getting at. there's my right and left right there, right? And there's my starting length. I just like returned early if we're too small, right? Okay, I'm gonna delete this. Not much, Ashwin. Just doing Leetcode. What was it? It was, yeah. So we're just doing a length here. So I in range string length. So this goes over every index in the string, and then we do this for odds, right? Then we're gonna do another one here, which will be evens. So this is a well, but we need the left index equals, and then right index. While left is greater than or equal to 0, and right. So this would be left index and right index is less than or equal to string length, and s left index is equal to s right index. This is the while still palindrome. While right minus 1 plus 1. Sorry, not sorry. Right index minus left index plus 1 is less than, oh wait, no. Sorry, not a while, this is an if. If then string length, no, is less than longest palindrome length. Longest length. Starting my Leetcode from Tom. Hope to see you tomorrow. Oh, from tomorrow. Sorry to disturb the flow. I hope you do the best. Oh, thanks. You're not disturbing me. Is string length. I'm not gonna be on until probably late tomorrow, and I don't know what the plan is tomorrow because I have my interview tomorrow. To do is longer than longest length. Then depending on uh longest palindrome equals nice. Well, I hope that you get it. Left index, right index plus 1. Wait, why is it plus 1? Why wouldn't we do plus 1 right away then? Oh, right, because never mind. Because we're slicing. It's the slicing logic. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Uh while we're just effectively doing this exactly again. I think this is like effectively all the same. Let's walk through it. I want to see how this works. Zero. Obviously. So that takes care of my zero, my one character one that this A one that I had that mine didn't check for correctly. Okay, so where are our values here? Oh yeah, we haven't created a value yet. What's the issue here? It's just complaining about duplication. But let's take a look at this. S left index plus 1 is equal to S right index, because we have an adjusted right index, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's true. Yeah, I see how this is working now. Left index plus 1 is 1. Right index. Are you using Atom as code editor? No. Is Atom still developed? I thought Atom was dead. Yeah, it is. As of 2022. Did somebody fork it? Yeah. Because it was killed off in favor of Visual Studio Code, right? I'm using PyCharm. Good old PyCharm. Yeah, I would not be surprised if somebody did it, because people get attached, right? But yeah, no, PyCharm. So like, most of my work is done in Python, like professionally. I do a lot of work in Python and specifically Django. And PyCharm for Django is just incredibly good. There's really nothing that compares. Um, though JetBrains makes no IDE that is super good for Elixir. It is all crap. And that's one of my favorite languages, which kind of sucks. The best one is IntelliJ with a third party plugin, and well, they've done a fairly decent job. I think the Visual Studio stuff is supposed to be better for Elixir than JetBrains stuff. But I'm not a big fan of Visual Studio. But I think I'm gonna probably learn it at some point just to get better Elixir support. Roadmaps and free resources. Well, what languages do you know right now? Okay, then when you come back up here, our left right is 0 and 2. Somewhat in how well, what are you aiming for is, I guess, the biggest question. More of scripting side? What? Well, no, like what's your goal? Like is it for work? Is it for fun? Because like everything kind of comes down to like what are you really wanting? Yeah. You want work? Um, you specifically want Python work? So I can tell you what Python work looks like, right? If you want to work in Python, right? There's really only two that you do. If you're doing web development in Python, it's Django and Flask. And specifically if you're doing Django, it's Django with Django REST framework. Like this specifically is what you're going to work in if you do Django professionally. Like if you're paid to do Django, you're probably doing Django REST framework. And then Flask is Flask, right? This one you just kind of do your thing, right? I don't think that Fast API, what was it? It is, yeah, Fast API was right. I don't think Fast API is heavily used professionally. I've not seen a posting for it. I've never had somebody reach out to me and ask me to do Fast API stuff, right? But Django REST framework and Flask are two really big ones in the Python communities for professional work. If you're doing data science, Anaconda is important, and Jupiter, yeah. And pandas. Effectively, like this bottom line here minus SQL is, well, actually SQL as well, but SQL falls into the top line as well, right? But like pandas, Anaconda, and Jupiter are all three of those are data science stuff, right? Finally at my graduating year, so to be real, I'm unsure. Okay. If you're graduating, you're doing web dev. Unless you work really hard to get into either gaming, you're either going to work hard to get into gaming, and then at that point you're not doing Python, you're doing C++, C Sharp, are your common languages. And if you're not doing and if you're not doing that, you're doing embedded, which is going to be I'm not entirely sure about the embedded community, but I think the embedded community uses a lot of C. But like you can also do like Elixir, and I've seen embedded stuff doing AI stuff. Like building AI systems, like effectively like what OpenAI does. That's a lot of Python and C++. AI is powered by Python and C++ largely. Yeah, that's Python and C++. You build your proof of concept in Python and then you build the product in C++ because Python's not fast enough to build the real product in. And then Python's just really good for like large data processing, right? Like so you might do your ingestion in Python unless Python tends to, unless Python becomes the bottleneck, then you would rewrite it into C++. Right, but my understanding, unless because it's been a while, right, since I've spent time with the AI ML communities, but um, they might have switched to Go or Rust, but I think it's still largely C++. What would be your suggestion or recommendation? Web dev. Um, my suggestion and recommendation, if you want to get a job fast, like the fastest way to get a job is, oh, I'm just going over Leetcode because I have an interview tomorrow. I hate Leetcode and I usually do not study it. Leetcode is not something I enjoy doing. And there are aspects of Leetcode that will help you with your job, but it's very abstract, and it's not really Leetcode that helps. It's more the like what Neatcode does, right? So like Neatcode is a better representation of like not neatcode.io. This is a better representation of what's important to understand and what Leetcode is trying to enforce. But the program that you any program that you write in anything that you write for these problem sets in Leetcode, you'll never use any of this. None of this is used in the real world, right? It's the concepts, right? The idea is the concept, right? So like this longest uh um palindrome substring, the concept is going to be used somewhere. At some point, you're probably going to run into this concept, and being able to do this in a concise and readable and maintainable fashion is what's important, right? The how well you score on this is not really that important in like how well you would score on this or how long this takes you, right? Is not the end goal for like a real world situation. Because you're not going to be asked specifically to do this silly thing, right? The chances of this ever being something that you actually do in real life is like zero, right? It's not absolute zero, but like it's statistically zero, right? Same with like all of these, right? Like all of these are like useless for like real world stuff. But 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 these concepts here, these data structure concepts and stuff like that, these give you the foundation to make these problem sets easier, right? And making these problem sets easier can make your code at work better. Can make your code better. Well, no, because like Leetcode is enforcing you is forcing you to look at data structures that you would not always necessarily look at in a real world environment, right? Because like the I have so like I've been doing web development for about 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. I have never used I've used a binary tree in my web development once. One time. In the entirety of actually doing web development, I've used a binary tree once. And it was only because like we were doing a really complex like tree like structure of like a really weird thing that's hard to explain, right? And it just worked. It flowed the best as a binary tree, right? And because it was the first time that I'd done a binary tree at work in like 5 years, so like it's the first time that I'd ever done one at work. It was just like I spent a little bit more time than I should have going through it because like walking the tree was not as straightforward as it should have been, right? But like it's not like I don't understand the tree. It's just that like you run into it and you're like looking at it and it's just like what's the best way to solve this thing, and then it's like, oh well, the answer is actually like effectively like what you would do for a Leetcode thing, right? Because like that's what it is. It's a binary tree, right? But it wasn't a binary search tree. It was just like a tree, right? And we are just stacking effectively like root the root and leaves and stuff like that. And it wasn't even implemented in a way that would make sense for a traditional binary tree for a Leetcode thing, right? But like the concept's there, right? So I had to go brush up on that because it'd been forever since I even thought about a binary tree, right? But yeah, like so effectively like all Leetcode is teaching you some reinforcing concepts, right? This is just reinforcing concepts that you might run into once every couple of years. But for the most part, Web development is manipulating a string in a very straightforward way or adding and removing things from a database. Like you're not doing complex things when you're doing web development. Like you're not doing complex things when you're doing web development. There's not a lot of complexity in web development anymore. The complexity comes from other things, right? So I spent like two months just to understand that in detail. I guess the complexity lies elsewhere. Yeah, pretty much, right? Like the so like I should preference that. There is complexity, but the complexity is about stitching systems together. Like damn, you're ex yeah, so like the complexity of like web development changes depending on the size of your company and what position you're in, right? So like if you're a junior developer, the complexity of what you're going to do is going to be very small, right? Like you're mostly going to be like dealing with like, hey, I have this JSON object and I need to ingest it into the system, modify it in some way, and then save it into our database, or take it, like ingest it from somewhere, modify it a little bit, and punt it to this other system. Like that's effectively all you're doing, right? Welcome back, Jax. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like most of like at a junior level, right? Which is where you're gonna be if you're just starting out anyways, right? So to junior level, all of your web development is effectively like, I have an API here, right? And this is my system. If this is my system, like the system I'm working on, right? My app, right? I am getting data from here, and I might have a database, right? This will be SQL for the most part, right? This could be Mongo as well, right? Or another service. API, right? So this is third party. This is effectively third party, right? These are both effectively third party. So I'm either punting it here or punting it here, right? And then there's also the situation where you have you have this, right? And this might be your front end. Oops. Right? And this is like the browser, right? And it will have images and stuff like that. And you like this is all you do. You get information from APIs or receive information from APIs. You modify it, you punt it to a database, or you punt it to the front end, right? Or you send it out to another API, right? So like everything you're doing is JSON. Like you're just handling JSON objects at the end of the day. When you're dealing with like an ORM, you're effectively dealing with JSON again. Right? Everything comes down to just data structures, right? Where it's like, oh, it's a class. In a lot of languages, it's like in Python specifically, it's just going to be a class, right? And the class is just going to have your properties, which is going to be like which is going to be the columns in the database, and then each row is going to be an instance of this class, right? Hi, I'm Jason, and you're hired. That's great info. Yeah. So like uh let me see if I can get a nicer way of writing this out, right? Give me a second. I'm gonna pull this, right? There we go. Now I can do pretty things, and we can show off some pretty stuff. My art skills are not completely terrible, but they're fairly bad. Don't save. We'll do this, this. There. Then we'll do that, and we'll do this, and now we can draw, right? So, okay, here we go. So you have JSON, right? And I'm assuming that you understand how JSON works, right? You've got your little thing, and you've got like my name, right? So this is going to be like name, pseudokid, right? And then you'll have like, and then it closes off, right? And this is data, right? And then your ORM, which is your object relational mapper, right? Your object relation map, which is like here's a database like a database record can just be thought of as like an Excel spreadsheet, right? And then this would be like name, and then other data here, right? Other columns, and then like here we would have the records, and this would be pseudo. The lack of space is we'll just say pseudo, right? And then this would be other data, right? And then this here maps to a class, right? And we will say profile, right? And this class here will have a name, and name will equal pseudokid. Right? And this here will have like a def save. And this save, right, actually punts to a database, right? And databases are usually represented by like stuff like this when you're looking at a data model, right? So it takes this information. So it takes properties, right? Which are these, right? And it saves them to the database SQL. Right? Whatever. And then when you're loading up a website, we get this information here is fetched from the ORM, right? So we fetch it from here. Then we take this and we fetch it into here. And this gets picked up by the front end and then displays this here. Right? Now, let's say that I want to send a push notification to this front end, right? So we have this like notification pop up. So we'll put it at the bottom because like, let's say that it pops up down here, right? Right. So we're gonna say, hey, this front end, something happened, or something happened somewhere in the app, right? So we have an API, right? My API, right? And somebody has pushed information to my API. This API does some processing. notification, right? And then here we'll say Firebase. Then this pushes that notification out here. Firebase then pushes that notification to our front end. And then we get this. Right? But this here has to make a call to the database to get keys. Right? To tell Firebase who we're notifying. Right? So this is where the complexity comes in, right? Is when like we're talking to third party, because this is a third party, right? And here again, we're speaking JSON. This is JSON. Sorry. And then this is also JSON. And this is also JSON. Yeah. There you go. So like everything's just speaking JSON because JSON's in everything and it's relatively efficient to parse JSON. With the quotes being relatively, right? The reason being is that like you don't have to rewrite. So like let's say so the front end here uses JS, right? The front end is in JS, right? And then Firebase doesn't have to release special APIs if it's JSON. So their backend and is JSON. And it doesn't matter what language it's in because JSON is JSON is JSON and it's parsed the same in every single language, right? And it comes part of Python. It comes part of, Go, part of XYZ. Anything that has a web framework, JSON is part of the language effectively, right? Like if you're doing web development in a language, it's going to come with JSON. There's another way to do this communication, and it's called protobuf. And protobuf is like a binary representation of the data, right? And instead of you even, so like this is just straight a binary blob, right? It's just literally ones and zeros. And you just send those ones and zeros over the network. And you do not have any, like, there's no null, like, right? Like we're not taking this and this is like a null or a stopper or something like that, or this is a null or a stopper. And there's padded data here to tell it where to split. No, we don't even do that. This is literally just a string of ones and zeros. We send it over the network. It hits the backend, and the backend knows exactly where all the stops are, right? It's like data JSON, interactive paste JSON. That's a lot of, yeah. So, but like, so this is more efficient, but you need helper functions to parse. Like you need helper functions in every language that you use to parse this. Not the end of the world, right? But like everything has to have a helper language that is kept up to date, because if one thing changes, the entire thing breaks, right? So like if I have to add to this a protobuf, every single application that uses this protobuf has to update their version of the protobuf to match my version of the protobuf, or else we can't communicate anymore. Where with JSON, I can add dynamically, age here, and then age is there, right? And then the front end can just ignore it. It's like, I don't need it, so I'm just going to ignore it. And it doesn't even have to, the front end doesn't even have to know that age is coming. It doesn't care. right? But with a protobuf, it does. So protobufs are a little bit less flexible for like modification. So they're mostly used for communication internally between your own apps, right? But so like your basic, but like for your junior level stuff, it's everything's JSON. The front end communicates with the back end over JSON APIs, right? Um, and then when you communicate with other applications, you're communicating through JSON with JSON APIs. Can you share how to learn all this? Can you help me to have this resources if you can? Well, the best way to learn this stuff, right, is to do it. Right? Because I can try and explain all of this to you, but if you don't build a system, you're not going to learn it. So you pick a language. Let's say that you do pick Python, right? Or if you pick JavaScript, you can do Express. Or if you want to do Java, there's Spring. I think Spring. I don't actually know any of the Java frameworks, right? So Python, you're going to do Django REST framework plus Django, or Fast API, or Flask. There are other ones in JavaScript. I don't know them. I'm gonna be honest. I think Spring Boot is a little bit more robust than just like, because isn't Spring Boot for microservices? I'm being honest. I actually don't know. My understanding, I think Spring Boot is like is more of a microservice thing. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? All you care about is just like all you really care about is you pick a language and then build an app in a framework that is not dead. Well, no, I know that Spring Boot is for Java, but I always thought that Spring Boot was like a micro framework Java thing, right? Okay, so you either pick Django REST framework, Fast API, or Flask. So you pick one of those and you build a small web app. My web app. Now, you do not want a to-do list. Not to do list. No. This needs to be an app that actually has complexity to it. It can have artificial complexity to some degree, but it needs to have complexity to it. No to-do list. Yeah. And the reason why it's not a to-do list is because to-do lists are overdone. Right? And while a to-do list can be a good representation of your skill set, because a to-do list can infinitely grow between a lot of different things, it's not very interesting. Right? And you're not going to build it out to a point where it becomes interesting. And I can tell you straight up that you are not going to do it, because unless you are part of the 0.01% that actually does it, right? And actually sticks with it until you get to the interesting parts of a to-do list app, you're just not going to. You're going to put it down because it's a boring app that nobody's going to use, right? So what you want to do to find this project here, I have a problem. Right? I will solve this. Right? This is the most important part. This part is the most important. The most important part is I have a problem. Right? So currently I'm working on 2 projects right now, right? So my problem is that I am in Japanese class. Oops. Vocab is hard. I have a one second. A char app. There. That oops. Me learn. Whatever. Right? No, this is O right? This is ni in katakana, so this is hiragana, right? This is katakana. This is yo in hiragana, and this is yo in katakana, right? This is tsu in katakana, and this is shi in katakana. Can you tell the difference between these two? Because I can. This is no, right? This is n. This is n in hiragana. This is katakana and yeah. So I have an app that's helped me learn these, and it's very efficient for me. It works. Right? I'm learning Japanese too. Yeah, Japanese is hard, right? I started 1 week ago. Yeah, this is he. This is B. This is sorry. Yeah. This is P. This is ka in hiragana. And this is ga in hiragana. Then if we're in katakana, it would be this would be ka, and this would be ga, right? Anyways, it's largely beside the point, right? So I have an app that I like that teaches me the characters, but I don't have an app that teaches me the vocabulary. And I'm struggling with the vocabulary in class right now. So my app that teaches me the characters is like it shows a character, right? And then it gives me some choices down here for the for what type of character this is, right? Oops. And then you select which one this is. And then there's another part of this where it's like so this is one part of the app, and then the other part of the app will be like, hey, draw an O, right, in hiragana or katakana, and then your job is to draw it, and then it complains if you don't do it right. So what I want is I want this app. No, I don't like Duolingo. It's just this app, right? That this is all it does, right? Is what I just displayed there, right? All I want is this to be the vocab word. So this is a word, right? It displays this on screen. Like this is your screen, right? And then you have 4 buttons. And these buttons have 4 words, and it plays the sound, right? So like you've got like the play button, right? And you can hear it, right? So this loads up, it plays the sound, displays the word, and then you select it, right? And that's all I'm looking for. And then it just tells you if you're right or wrong. And it randomizes them behind the scenes. So I want this app, but I can't find it. So I'm building it. I'll build it. This should take me 1 to 2 weeks. Now, does it need to be fully fleshed out with like every word in it? No. Because this for me, I can just put in the words that I care about, right? So I've got this app. This is the app that I want to build. Should I build it solely for me and nobody else? Nobody can use it, right? At all, period, even if they really want to or they find it useful. No, if I'm going to build it, I might as well build it in such a way that other people can use it. All right, so I need a list of words attached to every account, right? And I need an account system. Okay, so if I need an account system so I can remember who you are, I need auth. Auth is required. I need a dictionary for each person. For each person. So each person has a dictionary of words. I need a dictionary of all the words that I have, dictionary words. Right? We need the spellings, we need audio files, all of that. So I know what this needs to look like roughly, right? Let's see, what else? That's really about it, right? Like there's not much to this. So let's tackle auth first. Do you want to have people register with an email address and a password or a user account and password, right? So how do you want people to register for your app? Well, I didn't want to be in charge of actually keeping people's passwords and stuff like that safe. So I went with Google. Google Auth. Right? I don't like to use Python in my personal projects anymore because I have to do it for work and I like practicing other stuff. So I picked Elixir with Phoenix. I picked Postgres for my database and Ecto as my ORM. Even though it's not quite an ORM, it's close enough. Okay. For like how I communicate with the front and back end, I'm using LiveView. Which is WebSockets. And I've built this so far. This is where I'm at right now. WebSockets. And so what type of pages do I need now? Add. So wait. So I need register. Right. So then what do I need? I need to register users. Right. I add words. Edit words. Right. I need to be able to add words to the user dictionary. And I need to be able to actually have the core concept of the app, right? So study page. study page, and remove. We need to be able to remove word from user dict. So this is the back end. Front end, we need these pages. And then we just need, so we need pages. With style. Right? And then we need to play the audio clips, right? Oh, and store audio clips. Right? And for here, we just need to play audio clips. So we need the pages. We need these pages, and one of them needs to be able to play the audio clips. And we're done. Right? This is a small app. But now you've done, if you don't use this, like don't do this, right? And don't do this. Use Postgres or use some kind of MySQL database. Or sorry, not MySQL. Use some kind of SQL database, right? SQL is important. Use a REST framework of some kind. REST framework. And use some kind of front end system. But keep this minimal. You want to keep all of this as minimal as possible when you're learning. So you actually have to tackle things. So do this with as few third-party APIs as possible. Or actually, I shouldn't say APIs. I should say libs. So you want to limit your third-party libs when you're building this system. Be very cautious about adding a third-party library, right? So whatever you build, try and add as few third-party libraries as possible, and you'll get somewhere, right? Yeah, the main thing that you want to do is just you find a problem that you care about, and it's important that you care about the problem, because if you don't care about the problem, you're not going to finish the app, right? So find a problem that you care about, and it doesn't matter, just fix it. Solve said problem, and it will make your life better. That's how I started programming. So for me, my first application that first got me started in programming was, we had a new system at work, right? Where we had to log into this shitty website, right? To add servers from the rack. I was working at a data center, right? So we had these racks with servers in them, right? Right. And this is monitoring. Right. So this is our shitty, slow, error prone. Crap site. And right. So what I did is I wrote a Python app. The reason I used Python is because Python was the only, I had two options for languages. I could do it in Perl or Python. And I don't like Perl. Those are my only two options. And the only reason is, the reason those were my two options is I was on a Linux server. Right? It was so bad. It was really bad. People were struggling, right? Like it was like there was like 30 steps to this to add a server to this monitoring thing. And you had to add the same server like 3 times in like 3 different spots. It was really bad. Like people were actively fucking it up constantly on a day-to-day basis, right? So I had a Linux server, right? We all shared a Linux server that was like a jump server that we could get to other servers on. So the Linux server could reach out to this monitoring website, right? And that's what mattered, right? So we would collect all the data that we needed by hand, right? Just like write it on a piece of paper or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Or it would be in the email or whatever. It's been like 8 years since I built this system and I left the company. So we would have all the information, right, handy for like the details for like setting up the monitoring, right? And the server would be on in the data center and running and whatnot, right? So I had a Linux jump server, right? That I could host this application on. So it had to be something that was going to run on that server without having to install a new language, right? So my options were kind of limited. I could write it in C or /C++. I could write it in Python. I could write it in Perl. I could write it in Bash, right? And those were like my only 3 options, realistically. Couldn't use Ruby, couldn't use PHP, couldn't use Java because none of that was installed on the server, and we couldn't I couldn't force them to install it on the server because this had to run in 2 different data centers that were in 2 different countries that used 2 different jump servers that were installed and configured differently on both sides. So it had to run without any additional stuff being installed. Well, Python comes pre-installed on 99% of Linux servers. Specifically, the ones that we were using all have Python. They all have Perl because we have Perl scripts, and one of the data centers like to run Perl scripts, right? And C++, once it's compiled, it doesn't matter. Right? C and C++, because they're compiled, they just compile to a binary as long as it's Linux compatible. It doesn't matter, right? Bash is just it's scripting language. You really should not use Bash for this. It's a bad example of Bash, right? So C and C++ is going to be overly complicated to do this in, and I was just starting out and I didn't know the languages. Python's pretty easy to program in though, so Python it was. Now, what I had to do is I had to teach myself JSON because I did not know anything about JSON. I didn't know how web APIs worked or JSON. So I learned JSON. I learned requests. I think I misspelled that, requests, or Python. Py requests. And I built this app by sending to this API. Right? So this was a CLI app. And it's not like I had people that I could rely on to like talk about this because nobody at work did programming really, right? So I created this CLI app. You run it, it asks you a bunch of questions, right? So you run, it asks you questions, then it sends the data that you gave it over to this API, and voila, it shows up. And that's all this did, right? This is just how this worked. But I built it from scratch using Python requests, which is this API. this third-party library, right? So I built it out, doing just that, and I built this app, and then everybody used it and everybody loved it. And I'm actually not kidding. Everybody fucking loved this app. This app was very heavily used. Every single person in the department used this to add to this because it saved so much time. And I got props from my managers for building this app. Yeah, like the guy who like the head of our technical department was just like, this is the best thing that's been built in a long time for our department, right? And it's just like, yeah, because I was so frustrated with using this website. I was like, there has to be a better way, right? This me getting access to this API involved like 4 layers of management. Yeah. This was like 4 layers of management that like people had to fight to get me access to this. And I had so much access to this API. Like I had more access than like almost anybody else in the entire company to this API because I was building this app and that's how much my managers cared about it. Like it was crazy, right? But like this is effectively what I mean, right? Like you have a problem that's bothering the fuck out of you, solve the problem. Build an app to solve this problem. And this is how you learn this is how you learn how to build actual applications. Now, if your goal is to go work at Google, that's not how you get started at Google. So if you want to go, okay, does building cool or interesting, I don't think I spelled that right, things matter? No. Do Leetcode. No, do Leetcode. Now, on the flip side, if you're going to work at a company that like any other company, a company that's not a Fang company, not Fang, build cool things. Things. Maybe some leak code. Dude, you can go verb. Ah, that's fucked for the MNCC. Is that what the new Fang is? MNCC. I don't follow it. I just yeah. Like I won't interview for Amazon or Google anymore. Amazon, Google, Meta, all those companies, I'm just not interested. But yeah, like here. This is if you're not going for a interview, like if your goal isn't to go work at like one of the big companies, building cool things to talk about and show off in your interviews is actually really important because it gives you somewhere to talk. Like you can talk to the people, right? Oh. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I don't, like I said, I don't keep up with them, so. But yeah, building cool things, like cool and interesting things, this gets you jobs. With small companies, small and medium companies want this. Because small and medium companies, you're likely to talk to the CEO. Like you'll actually see the CEO. Right? You'll have conversations with them. Hell, if it's a small enough company, you'll get interviewed by the CEO. Right? And because it's their money on the line, they want to know if you can build things. They don't care if you understand all the theory and whatnot to build like super large scaling apps at like Google size. Because they're not building a Google sized app. They might have 200K users a day. Right? And if they're small enough, they could have like 2K users a day. And hell, I've worked on profitable, like you can have a profitable application that has like 100 users a day. The question is, how much money is one user worth? Or sorry, one user. Yeah. Money per user. Right? Cuz a small company, right? So Google operates at like 0.00001 per user, right? It's like pennies per user, like fractions of a penny per user. But if you're servicing, 10 bill users, like 10 million users an hour or something crazy like that, this number gets big. If not, you need to monetize your users differently, right? If this is a B2B application, right? Like if it's B2B, yeah, B. Um, ah, B2B, sorry. B2B, your user could be spending $10,000 $10,000 a month. And they might use your and they might have two people at the company. Right? So each user is 5K, right? And maybe they only have 100 clients. But because because their application is so good, right? They can charge this and it's worthwhile for this B2B because it's business to business, right? So it might cost them $10,000 a month, but they might get like $100,000 of use out of it, right? Now I have a question. Does how you sort something matter? Right? Does being the most efficient, having your app be the most efficient way to do like everything, to shave like zero, like if you're shaving 0.0000001% off of it by learning this weird algorithm that makes your code 100 times harder to maintain, right? If this is your performance benchmark where you need to shave this much off, does it make sense if you're servicing like maybe 100 people a month, right? Does this math check out? And the answer is no. Does it check out here though? Yeah. This saves money. This saves money at Google, right? This could save like $100,000 a day, right? Something like this small of performance could save like $1 million a month, $2 million a month, right? At a company this side, this is a waste of time, right? So that's why Leetcode doesn't matter for small companies, because like you're never doing that stuff. You need good enough. Good enough is what you're looking for. And the reason I say it's good enough is what you're looking for is because it ends up being true. Maintainability is more important, right? Ease of code. Easy to read and change. Outweighs speed. No, scalability doesn't matter. Or unless you're talking about like if you're talking about Google, scalability is very, very important. But at a small company, scalability doesn't matter. Right? So this is small. Right? Speed is like not something that you care about. Right? At a medium company, mid company. So mid-sized, right? Small, mid, right? You still have easy to read to read and change. Right? Let's say 80 to 90% true. This is more important than speed. And then a large company. Big. Oops. Easy to read and change. Maybe like 50 to 60% true is greater than speed. And then at massive, it's almost always the other way around. But yeah, like the speed is relative, like speed being important is relative to like how often it gets done. So yeah, big companies, Leetcode, small companies, medium, and so small companies are almost always going to be cool projects. Mid-sized companies are always going to be like a mix of cool projects. And Leetcode. Sorry, or Leetcode. Or Leetcode. And then maybe Leetcode. Big companies, cool. Is there a way to connect to you? I've got a Discord. And I try to stream pretty often. I'm also on Twitter. and blue sky. Let's see. How do I even? How do I even do this? It's been so long. Wait. I think I've got it on the Twitch channel. Copy link. There we go. I warn you though, like I am not necessarily always the most active on Discord, but if you say something, I'll probably see it and I'll try and get to it. But absolutely the best spot to catch me is usually like while I'm live. But I try to be responsive on Discord. I try to. I do go out of my way to try and be as responsive as possible. But yeah, it's kind of all relative. Both ways. Yeah. Yeah, if you message to the like general or a specific language or whatnot, I'll try and be good about responding. One sec, I want to go check on something and I need water. I'll be right back. I'm almost back. Oh yeah. No, one sec. Let me grab my Twitter. I think this has everything. Yeah, this does. Sweet. Let's just do this. Yay! My new 4 terabyte drive came in today. I followed you on both? Okay. Sounds good. Yay! Yeah, there we go. So this little buddy allows me to record my streams for and I don't have to remember to transfer everything off every single fucking night like I've been trying to remember to do, and I keep forgetting, and then it's like, well, I can't start streaming until I finish copying it off because the drive's not big enough to actually hold uh all the all the data from last stream. God damn it. Let me spend 4 hours fucking copying it over because it's only a 2 terabyte drive. So oh, that might be getting too hot. Ooh. Yep. The drive was overheating and it was stopping and starting the. Oh, well, have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. It was nice to meet you. Leetcode is slowly killing me. Part of me just wants to take a break from Leetcode entirely and just call it a day and go on and work on something else. I don't know if I can keep going with it, to be honest. No, you didn't waste my time. I don't. Leetcode's slowly killing me because I like building things and building. So like I have a fundamental problem where I have to build things or else I get depressed. I ended up switching over to Leetcode instead of Neatcode because uh, Neatcode was angering me. I was just doing this. This was the one that I was working on. And then after this, I was going to go to Zigzag Convention. But I don't know if I can keep doing it. I'm so like overly just exhausted with it. And they explicitly stated that I don't have to do Leetcode during the interview. So I'm just like, wait, if I don't have to do Leetcode during the interview, like they said that it's not going to be a Leetcode question, and if that's the case, then I don't know if I want to like it's making it harder to keep going with Leetcode because I just don't want to do it. They're gonna make me they're gonna ask me to build a command line app of some kind, or like a small app that's not web based. It'll kind of be Leetcode adjacent, right? Like it's a small app that's probably gonna do something silly that's like maybe a little bit related to the job, but not that related to the job, but like enough that they could get an idea for whether or not I'm going how much I'm going to struggle or not struggle picking up their web stack or whatever. Like the one of the ones that I got was like build build this like little command line app where like you're doing you've got a list of sorry, you have a list of what was it? It had to do with like effectively like a cryptocurrency. Like you had this list of buy orders and sell orders, and when somebody goes to buy, they have to buy from the top or something like that, or they have to buy at the lowest price and sell at the highest price, kind of thing. And like the buy and sell orders had to stay in or the buy and sells had to stay in order and stuff like that, and um all of these things. And there's like an easy way to do it where you just use bubble, like you use sort on every time you add something, but that's like an inefficient way to do it. So like ideally you would just automatically, like you would manually bubble sort it because it's more efficient, because you're not sorting the entire thing, you're just inserting at the correct spot and stuff like that. But like if you didn't if you didn't think about that ahead of time, and then like they'd ask you questions like, you know, what's the least efficient part of this application, you know, what it, you know, why did you pick this, why did you pick that, like why did you do this, why did you do that, kind of thing, and stuff like that. So like it's probably just gonna be something like that, which makes me happy because like those are like actually those end up leading to like interesting situations, like like an interesting problem set. So at least that's what it sounds like. And I'm going to be very disappointed if I get in there and they're like, oh, build a binary tree. I got that as an interview question, build a binary tree. And I was just like, why? To be fair, this was very early in my career. And I was like, what's a binary tree? It was, what's a binary tree? Because I didn't know. My first time being hit by that one. Part of me wants to go work on Isekai Crusader again right now, but like part of me just I want to just build something. I like just building things. Just building things makes me happy. But I need to have a project. Part of me wants to like explore Unity, like actually build a small game, like build a small game in Unity. But like I don't know what I would build. Because like I don't know. I could do 3D modeling today. Take a break. But I need to find something. Either that or just call it a day early, which I also might do. You know what? I think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna call it a day early and just take the day and relax a little bit. Like I've kind of done enough, I think. All right. Well, thank you to everybody who showed up. I will catch you all later. Ta ta for now. I need to take a break. My brain is a little fried.